Welcome to A Few Minutes with Milestone, a weekly video where we explore topics important to our customers. This week, we will review the current travel restrictions and exemptions for entry to Australia. Australia has strict border measures in place to protect the health of the Australian community. Since the 20th of March 2020, temporary visa holders have been unable to enter Australia unless they are in an exempt category or have been granted an individual exemption to the current travel restrictions. Travel restrictions have also been applied for Australians to exit Australia. Certain individuals are automatically exempt from the inbound travel restrictions. This includes Australian citizens and permanent residents, including partners and children approved under certain visa categories. New Zealand residents are also permitted entry thanks to one of the first travel bubbles established for international travel. You will need to carry evidence that you meet one of the listed categories when travelling. If you do not meet the listed exemptions, Australian Border Force decision makers may grant you an individual exemption to be permitted entry to Australia. It can be difficult to obtain approval for the exemption. Some individuals have reported applying up to 27 times before obtaining their approval for entry. Unfortunately, it is a subjective assessment process, and the application is assessed based on the strength of your evidence and argument, but can also come down to luck based on who your application gets assigned to within the department. Those in a de facto relationship or holding a prospective marriage visa must provide significant evidence of their relationship, up to the level of a partner visa application, in order to obtain approval. Those with critical skills are required to convince the Commissioner that their skills or the business they will be working for cannot obtain those skills from the labour market, and that the worker is essential in maintaining supply of essential goods and services. This can be very challenging to prove and requires a strong persuasive argument and supporting evidence. So far, we have been able to obtain exemptions for some industries and occupations critical to Australia's mining and logistics industries. This is a difficult process and can take several tries to get success. Employers must be willing to provide evidence and supporting statements to assist in the application process. Immigration have also released a priority migration skilled occupation list. The PMSOL identifies 18 positions that are critical for Australia to support Australia's economic recovery from COVID-19. Visa holders sponsored in occupations on this list are afforded priority processing of visas and entry to Australia. It is possible to obtain entry for compassionate and compelling circumstances. However, this is still a very difficult argument and requires significant evidence of a compelling circumstance to permit entry. If you believe you can meet one of the individual exemption criteria, you can commence the process of obtaining an exemption to enter Australia. There is a specific portal in which to apply for a travel exemption. The travel exemption is linked by the TRN number of your visa application. You will need to support your application with evidence and a persuasive argument to show immigration why your entry should be allowed. Once the travel exemption is approved, processing will commence on your visa application. Remember, even if given a travel exemption, you must still have a valid visa to enter Australia. If you don't meet the visa requirements, your visa application will be refused and you cannot enter. If you are approved to enter Australia, there are specific requirements to travel. This includes the need to provide evidence of a negative COVID-19 PCR test to your airline, taken 72 hours or less before your scheduled departure. Airlines will deny boarding if you do not provide this evidence. Please also note that masks must be worn on all international flights into Australia, including at airports. Of course, your eligibility for a travel exemption is dependent on your individual circumstances. As such, contacting a registered migration agent for an assessment is essential if you plan on travelling. Contact Milestone Migration now for your free assessment.